to this episode of Poésie et Joie, where I usually read one poem, sometimes my own, usually somebody else's. I only read my own when I'm actually promoting my own. Fix that if I can. These sweetheart necks are really pretty, but they don't take into account that women have to wear support, we'll call it, on their bust. Anyway, I am filming this on a different device, and I thank you for everybody who has stuck with me through the tech issues that I have been dealing with and trying to sort out. I will have to deal with the tech issue on the back end of trying to figure out how to get this synced onto the other device where I do editing and all that later. But that'll be my issue that hopefully you won't have to see. Today is Kentucky Oaks Day that I'm filming this, 2026. So I think it's like May 1st, 2026. And so I thought, today is the day for the girls. It's the first leg of the Philly Triple Crown. Y'all know I'm into horse racing. And I thought, since this is the day for the girls, and since I'm dressed up, I thought it would be a good day to film a couple of videos for the YouTube channel. Get caught up on that a little bit. Now that I'm seeing my outfit close up, I'm seeing a couple of flaws that I didn't see from far away. Anyway, trying to fix those. I thought it would be a good day to make YouTube videos of some female poets. And I thought, I don't think I've done on this channel, I haven't done Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton yet. Why haven't I? Because they are, as the pun of the day, they are the Colossus of American poetry for females, right? Going down the confessional poetry rabbit hole today. I made these gloves myself, and they're supposed to emulate lace gloves. And what I like about them is that the holes are big enough that you can still, they have the full coverage of traditional gloves, but the holes are big enough that you can still use your devices while you have your gloves on. But that also means that occasionally your finger will, and you have to fix it. If you see me pulling at my gloves ever so often, that's why, because one of my fingers have popped through. But I did that on purpose so that I could have the look of the traditional lace gloves that you wear to the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks, and still be able to use my device without having to take my gloves off. I did not foresee that particular issue, however. Oh well. I still like it better than fingerless gloves, because fingerless gloves just, they look poorly to me, and I'm going to have to take time after we get finished filming these videos to like put a what do you call those? The safety pin in this or something, because it's bothering me. Yeah, sweetheart necklines are really cute, but they forget that women have to wear support, and they don't give us room to cover that up. Anyway, that's the problem with a lot of women's fashion, however. They don't take into account the support on the bust, and they don't make sure that that has sufficient coverage. I've noticed that with a lot of women's fashion, and it really annoys me, because it's like, well, we all have to wear one. Cover it up. Or else give us some other way to sufficiently support, because a lot of these outfits also that claim to have support built in, it's not sufficient for busty girls like me. It's like, yeah, that's not going to hold my knee, let alone that. Anyway, if you're a man watching this, I apologize, but it's a good education for you to learn about these women issues. I mean, after all, it's half the population. You do not live on this planet alone. Anyway, and since it is all about the girls today, with it being Kentucky Oaks Day, the first leg of the Philly Triple Crown, we are going to read the Colossus by Sylvia Plath in this video. And probably in the next one I make today, we will read something by Anne Sexton, and then post that in the next month that I post on YouTube, just around, because we need to have them on this channel, don't we? I have neglected that. Anyway, the Colossus. It's been high energy all this week because it's Derby week. I've been cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and then, trying to get my outfit ready. I made the gloves myself. The band I made, the band for the hat I made in August. And just trying to get everything ready. And so I guess I'm just, after a while of being high energy like that, you get to where you're tired, and then you hit this spell that I call wired, where you're like beyond tired, but you can't slow down yet because you're just beyond the beyonds. But I'm having fun. I am, and the party's really just started because it's just now Oaks Day and tomorrow is the Derby. I finally got everything done though, and I'm enjoying myself. I am. I just have to do these few little tweaks to things, and then I can. And I have to make myself something to eat today. And then I can sit down and watch the races, which the show on YouTube has already started. And then the show on NBC Peacock, I watch it on Peacock, starts at 4 for that. And this is, for the first time ever this year, is when they are going to give the Oaks primetime television. Now, I don't usually dress for the Oaks. I just dress for the Derby. This is the first year I've dressed for the Oaks. But I've done that because this is the first year in history that the Oaks has gotten primetime television hours. So I thought we'll really celebrate with the girls this year. And I'm going to bring that over into my YouTube channel with the Boys et Joie episode by reading Sylvia Plath, and then the next episode will be Anne Sexton. So we're going to read the Colossus. I feel like you have to say it like that. I shall never get you put together entirely. Pierced, glued, properly jointed, mule bray, pig grunt, and body cackles proceed from your great lips. It's worse than a barnyard. Perhaps you consider yourself an oracle, mouthpiece of the dead, or of some god or other. 30 years now I have labored to dredge the silt from your throat. I am none the wiser. Scalding little ladders with glue pots and pills of Lysol, I crawl like an ant in mourning over the weedy acres of your brow to mend the immense skull plates and clear the bald white tumuli of your eyes. A blue sky out of the Orestii. I'm not sure how to say that. It's place name of where the actual Colossus statue was. I'm sorry. A blue sky out of that arches above us. Oh, Father, all by yourself you are pithy and historical as the Roman Forum. I open my lunch on a hill of black cypress. Your fluted bones and acanthine hair are littered in their old anarchy to the horizon line. It would take more than a lightning stroke to create such a ruin. Nights I squat in the cornucopia of your left ear, out of the wind, counting the red stars and those of plum color. The sun rises under the pillar of your tongue. My hours are married to shadow. No longer do I listen for the scrape of a keel on the black stones of the landing. Now, if you know anything about Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes, she was married to Ted Hughes, and that's a whole mess. That's a whole mess. Because Ted Hughes is a legendary poet in his own right. And I'm not going to get into whether he deserves that or not, because he is a pretty good writer. Okay. I've read his stuff. But he treated Sylvia Plath horribly. And he treated her work horribly. It was a case of two poets being married to each other, and it was toxic. He treated her as if he was in competition with her, and you cannot be in a relationship with someone who is also in a competition with you. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It will turn into something toxic and horrific every time. And it was even worse for them since it was also a romantic relationship. It wasn't just like a toxic friendship, it was a romantic relationship. And so, you know how these things go. Most women do, because most women have experienced it, where their husband is like competing with you. You should be in your place because I need to be better than you, especially if they're married to you, but even if they're not. They have this complex that just because they're men means they're better than you. And if they don't, and if they feel like they're not, then they get really, it's just awful. It's horrible. And when she died, this is when things get really rough because, everybody knows that Sylvia Plath committed suicide. This is why I don't monetize my channel, so I can say these words and say the truth and not be censored. When she did, because and I lay that on him. Now, I don't, it's up to you if you want to or not, but most people do lay that at his door, that he drove her to despair to the point where she finally just stuck her head in an oven, in a gas oven, quite literally. And when she did, he took her work and edited it and changed it and then published it and said this is what her work is. When her journals and stuff were published, they were heavily redacted. And it wasn't until like 10 years ago that they finally published her journals as she had written them. It wasn't until after Ted Hughes died that they went back and fixed them and said, no, we want to publish a version of her work that was untouched by him. It wasn't until after he died. So when you go back and you read the Colossus, obviously she took the metaphor of the Colossus statue that used to stand. It was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But she's writing about Ted Hughes, obviously, in this poem. I shall never get you put together entirely, pierced, glued, and properly jointed mule bray, pig grunt, and body cackles proceed from your great lips. Because he was supposed to be such a great speaker, such a great orator, such a great writer, such a great man, such a great professor. And then she says it's worse than a barnyard because he represented oppression to her. I mean, obviously that's what she's writing about, is that whole toxic relationship and dynamic between them. That originally she saw, as did everyone, this intelligent man who shared her interests in poetry and language and could speak so well. And once they were married, he was like, I have to be better than you, so I have to squash you. I have to silence you. I have to make you small. And things got rough. Really rough. So that's what the Colossus is about. And that's why it's important to celebrate the girls every chance we get. I mean, the Oaks, the Kentucky Oaks, is just as old as the Derby. They were founded the same year, in 1879. And the Kentucky Oaks is the first leg of the Philly Triple Crown. Each leg of the Philly Triple Crown is a race that is run the day before the next leg at the same tracks as the legs of the Colt Triple Crown, what we think of when we hear Triple Crown. But no one has ever heard of the Philly. Most people have never heard of the Philly Triple Crown. In fact, I've spent quite a while researching it online because I grew up hearing that those races were the Philly Triple Crown, and then I got on the internet's like the Philly Triple Crown doesn't really exist. And I was like, hold up. See, everything that has to do with females always gets discredited. Sires are more important than dams. We are told. But when you actually look at how horses are actually bred, yeah, sires break in more money. They get more prestige. But because they're able to, sires can have more children. Because the dam can only have, the female horses, the mares, can only have one offspring a year. And they only have so many years that they can breed safely. But a sire can breed hundreds in a year, globally. See? But when you look at how people actually breed the horses, the dam lines are more important than the sire lines. They really are. They are. See, and that's the way it is across the board. The males always get more credit than the females do. But in some ways, the female is more important than the male. So it actually evens out. It actually evens out. And instead of competing with each other, and instead of these men thinking, well, I'm better than you just because I'm a man, they need to see things the way God sees them, which the Bible says that God is not partial. And when Jesus was resurrected, the first people he spoke to were women. The first people he revealed himself to were women, not men. And there was a prophet in the Bible that was a woman. At a key time in the Israelite history, when they had just come out from the oppression of a government that was particularly oppressive to women. And so there was this female prophet that helped to heal the women who had been, I'm sure you've read the story of Deborah. Mm-hmm. Women are just as important as men. They can do many, many things. And all are equal in God's eyes. All are equal. All are equal. Even your little disabled auntie that's never been married and can't clean her own house, she has her gifts. They may not be as obvious as the woman who can clean circles around everybody you know, but she has her gifts. All are equal. And this thinking one person's better than another just because they have a certain gift, or thinking that for some reason somebody has more value in the eyes of God than another just because, is ridiculous, and it is the most harmful rhetoric that has ever been put forward in the human sphere. Just because you're a man, you're somehow better, or just because somehow you're a chosen one, or some BS. All it does is cause harm to people. Like Sylvia Plath. She had all that pain and despair in her life when all she needed was to know that she was loved. That there was somebody in the world who genuinely loved her for her. That's what people need. They need to know that they are loved and that they are worthy, not because they meet some special criteria, not because they're chosen or because they're special or because they're able to do this or that. because they can meet some quota, because they can make a fine spaghetti or something. Not because they can keep your house spotless and do your laundry. And not because they had so many children, or they make so much money, or whatever it is that people use to rank people in society. Not because they have so many friends, and not because they have a so-called good reputation that can be whisked away in a minute just because one person decides they don't like them. Reputation is as fickle as fame. It's the same thing. Reputation means nothing. It's your character that is everything, because reputation is like... because reputation depends on what other people think, and that doesn't mean anything. Every person has value, even if they're a vegetable that can't get out of bed. And I knew a boy once, he accidentally fell in a pond when he was like 4 years old. And from that day forward, he couldn't even blink his own eyes without assistance. But he had the same value as you and me. He had the same value as any president and any monarch and any dignitary and any billionaire on this planet. Just because he couldn't speak or even blink his own eye doesn't mean anything. He was still perfectly cognizant in there. We need to change how we view each other as human beings. And forget all this hierarchy crap. Because it doesn't exist. It is a farce. And it is the worst farce that humanity ever perpetrated on itself. Because it harms everybody it touches. People like Sylvia Plath. People like Ann Sexton. People like me. People like you. People like the homeless guy on the street. Just needs a buck so he can eat lunch. It harms everybody. And today, because it's Kentucky Oaks Day, this one's for the girls. And this one is for Sylvia Plath and Ann Sexton. Because goodness knows, the girls need it. I hope you enjoyed our poem of the day, our poem of the month here on Poésie Joie. And I know I gave a little lecture, but it's needed in this world today. And I thank you so much for sticking with me through all of the difficulties that we have with the tech and all of that. And I hope you will come back next month for the next Poésie Joie. In the meantime, go back through the channel. It's been here since 2011. There are so many poems on here now from all over the world. Go back through, find yourself a gem, and enjoy it. Yes, I'll see you next month. Thank you for joining me here, and don't